Discover how to turn your front porch into a haunted house. Discover not all vampires are scary. Discover Garden Ridge, where you'll find the biggest selection of Halloween decorations and costumes in the city, all at prices that can't be beat.
Discover the fall sale. Save 50% on all fall bushes and drives. And save up to 50% on all scarecrows.
Discover you're never too old to go trick-or-treating. Discover Garden Ridge and discover shopping that's fun.
Are you ready to get scared out of your wits?
Hello, Halloween.
But don't worry, it's a good kind of scary with America's favorite fat cat.
I'm no scaredy cat.
It's funny scary on the Emmy-winning Garfield's Halloween Adventure. Then,
I hear the Great Pumpkin.
a very spooky special, the Halloween classic. It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Right.
Sorry, Paul, this is all wrong.
What?
You'll have to do it over again. It's not worthy of you. Throw it all out, except for that part of naming the gravedigger after me. You can leave that in.
James Caan plays an author whose #1 fan doesn't like the way his new book turned out, so she changed him to his typewriter, almost literally, in Misery, a thriller based on the Stephen King bestseller. It's one of the new movies we're going to be reviewing this week, and we'll also have a special two-part report that asks the question, why are so many recent movies for children so scary and so depressing? What happened to the fun of going to movies for kids? I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is called Misery, and just as with his film Stand By Me, also based on a Stephen King book, director Rob Reiner brings a lot of humor to the screen, and that makes the psychological horror of this picture work so well. James Caan plays a successful novelist who has written a whole series of potboilers featuring a female character named Misery. When he has a car accident after writing his latest book at a rural getaway, he's saved by a strange woman who used to be a nurse and says she's his #1 fan.
Your shoulder was pretty badly dislocated. It was a little stubborn, but I finally popped it back in. What I'm most proud of is the work I did on those legs. You have a compound fracture of the tibia in both legs, and the fibula in the right leg is fractured too. You've got a lot of recovering to do, and I consider it an honor that you'll do it in my home.
That's actress Kathy Bates in a comically chilling performance as the fan. It turns out that she is keeping him captive in that bedroom, pretending the phones are not working. She doesn't like the new book he's written.
You dirty bird. How could you? Misery Chastain cannot be dead.
Annie, in 1871, women often died in childbirth. But her spirit is the important thing, and Misery's spirit is still alive.
I don't want her, Smith! I want her!
It seems the only person who can save James Caan is the town sheriff, a crusty sort nicely played by the always appealing Richard Farnsworth.
I figured that if I can't find Paul Sheldon, at least I can find out what he wrote about.
What do you expect to find? A story about a guy who drove his car off a cliff in a snowstorm?
Quite steadily, the tension is turned up in the house where James Caan is being held captive. He's managed to get out of his room for an exploratory look around the house, and that freaks out his fan.
Paul, do you know about the early days at the Kimberley diamond mine? Do you know what they did to the native workers who stole diamonds? Don't worry, they didn't kill them. That would be like junking a Mercedes just because it had a broken spring. No, if they caught them, they had to make sure they could go on working, but they also had to make sure they could never run away. The operation was called hobbling.
Annie, whatever you think I'm not doing, please don't do it.
Her matter-of-fact tone is really very good there, and that little cross that's around her neck all the time takes on an ironic, threatening quality. Director Rob Reiner does a very good job of mixing horror and humor here. His shooting style is crisp and clean. We remember the detail of individual shots, a bobby pin on the floor, an empty telephone, a smudge on a piece of typing paper. Barry Sonnenfeld, who also photographed the beautiful Miller's Crossing, he did the fine camera work here too. And Kathy Bates is equal to the juicy role she's been given to play. That's why Misery is the most enjoyable, if sometimes gruesome, entertainment.
Now, this is basically a movie with two people in it,
Right.
apart from the real nice supporting performances by people like Richard Farnsworth, and they're both good. And I think there was a trap here in that both of them could have easily overacted. He could have turned into some kind of a real suffering martyr, and she could have turned into some sort of avenging angel. And her sweetness and humor in the role is what kind of sells it in a way. It makes her even scarier.
Also, James Caan, who has been good but erratic in his career, plays the guy as at the top of his intelligence. He's smart. He's ticked off. You know, it's not done as the world's greatest novelist. He's a regular person. It's a very nice, even-keel performance on his part.
So often I think Stephen King's books often seem to be based on autobiographical things that he finds in his own life, and he must have gotten a lot of letters from fans who didn't like the way some of his books turned out, and this is his way of extending that a little further.
Thanks. Want some salad, Jack?
Yeah, please.
Jack, did I tell you they tore down the old lighthouse?
Oh, no. The one on the point?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that old place.
Yeah, so did we.
Macaulay Culkin plays a bad boy, a very bad boy in The Good Son.
Why in the world was this movie made? What possible audience is there for a film starring Macaulay Culkin as a sadistic and hateful little monster and murderer? Maybe somebody somewhere thinks of this as entertainment, but I think of it as an exercise in irresponsibility by everyone connected to the project, especially the young boy's parents and managers, who should have thought twice before exposing him to such a distasteful role. The movie stars Elijah Wood as a little boy whose mother dies and his father has to leave the country on business, so he's sent to live for a couple of weeks with the family of his cousin, played by Macaulay Culkin. And life on their main island is one life-threatening situation after another.
If I let you go, do you think you could fly?
This little kid is full of tricks. Here they're almost savaged by a killer dog. And in a later scene, Culkin will actually kill that dog before his cousin's eyes. And what about this scene? Culkin has just dropped a human dummy on the highway, causing a multiple-car traffic pileup.
Do you know what you did? Hey, come on. We did it together. You could have killed people. With your help.
Eventually, his mother figures out her son is not so good and may have been responsible for drowning his baby brother in a bathtub.
Where'd you get that? You know where I got it? I couldn't find it after Richard's accident. Have you had it all this time?
It was mine before it was his.
And, of course, if Mom is going to make all kinds of trouble and be a bad sport, he knows how to take care of her, too. The Good Son is a reprehensible film, trading on little children in order to create sick images with no redeeming value except, I guess, to entertain, although I cannot imagine anyone being entertained by this movie. What really disturbed me were the scenes of small children in danger and the scenes in which this young man, Macaulay Culkin, is required to act out the murders of his family members, innocent bystanders, and even a dog. Macaulay Culkin has a lot of young fans, and all I can say is the movie, which is rated R, is completely inappropriate for children. And two of the children who should have been kept out of it are Macaulay Culkin and Elijah Wood.
You know, they're both pretty good actors.
Yes,
and
they are.
It is awful, an awful film for all the reasons that you mentioned. And then it's stupid also on its own level. For example, the dummy is thrown off, Macaulay Culkin throws the dummy off in a highway, the cars crack up. Never again is it mentioned in the investigation about the dummy. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
That's not pursued.
And the two kids are in full view of anybody on the highway.
In other words, it doesn't have, as stupid and as offensive as the film is, it doesn't even have a logic within its own sordid details. The ending of the film is similarly awful, where the character questions the mother's mental state, when it makes absolutely no sense whatever. Even the last line of the film is a fraud. It's a terrible film from beginning to end, and I hope you're right. I hope that kids are prevented from seeing this picture. You know, parents may not be smart enough.
A lot of kids know that Macaulay Culkin is in it, and they loved his other movies.
Yes.
And I've already gotten letters from parents saying, is this okay for my 9-year-old or my 11-year-old? The answer is no.
It's not okay for anyone.
And our next movie is Candyman, a thriller about a scholar who sets out to debunk urban legends. You know, those stories like the one about the alligators in the sewers. And she ends up finding that one legend will fight to the death rather than be debunked. That's the Candyman who, according to legend, haunts the empty apartments of Cabrini Green, a Chicago housing project, killing defenseless victims while the 911 operator ignores their calls. The movie stars Virginia Madsen and Kazi Lemons as University of Illinois researchers who venture into the area to check out a Candyman sighting. Madsen takes things into her own hands, climbing through walls to search for clues to the real killer she's convinced is posing as the Candyman.
Hey, what y'all doing in there?
We're just leaving.
You here for the sweep?
No. We're not cops. We're from the university.
Well, you don't belong here, lady.
That's Vanessa Williams as the mother who knows the Candyman is real. And before long, Madsen thinks so too when she meets the legend himself, played by Tony Todd. Now, I have about 100% feeling that Candyman is being set up to become the next Jason or Freddy Krueger in a series of horror flicks, and it may not be too many years before we're very, very tired of the Candyman.
It didn't take that long for me.
Okay, this first film is surprisingly effective, maybe because it grounds itself so realistically in a real city where urban legends seem fanciful until the end of the film, of course. Madsen and Lemon seem like smart, capable women, not your average slasher film heroines, and I was very intrigued by the Candyman's argument, which is that since he exists, because people believe in him, if they debunk him, he'll die. In other words, yes, Virginia, there is a Candyman. This is a little deeper than your average horror film, and I enjoyed it a little more.
I enjoyed the setup. When the Candyman arrives, the guy looks like, frankly, a pimp from one of these 1970 blaxploitation pictures in a very bad coat with this hook, and then it gets very bloody and wildly bloody, and it looks like some of the crime photographs, frankly, that Ouija took, but not in black and white, but I mean blood splattered everywhere. And I thought, gee, if they had reduced the amount of the Candyman, reduced the attacks, they had a good film working here. With fear, set in sometimes daylight, in cities, in a real city, obviously our city. And I thought that the setup was fine, but I thought when the Candyman came, the picture tanked and became really routine.
My guess on this film, because it was directed by Bernard Rose, who was a very good director, my guess is the original screenplay was an extremely elegant and smart idea, and somebody came along who was involved at the money level who said, give him a bigger hook, let's have more blood, let's have more gore, we have to go for the splatter film audience, we have to go for the kids in the multiplexes, and they added a whole layer of extraneous violence to what was essentially a great story to begin with.
Absolutely right, and so, frankly, disgusting is something I felt an awful lot when I saw the Candyman. And a review of Army of Darkness, in which a sales clerk from the 90s is thrust back into the Middle Ages.
It's got a walnut stock, cobalt blue steel, and a hair trigger. That's right. Shop smart. Shop S-Mart.
The scariest thing about Halloween is that everyone is beginning to look a lot alike. That's why we created the Boo Bazaar at Hallmark. We have an amazing array of awesome accessories, lapel pins, and clip-ons. Plus our exclusive Baby Boo and Boo Junior lines for kids. So this year, be an original. Scare up your costume at Hallmark's Boo Bazaar, because there's nothing more frightening than the same old thing.
Gang, do you hear that? Indeed, my sister. Look.
Whoa! UFO spotted in Springfield.
Homer! Right, boy.
Whoa, alien dudes.
You ingest this earthly confection for pleasure. We shall study this Butterfinger. As well as you.
Let me take you to my leader.
There's nothing like a crispity, crunchity, peanut buttery Butterfinger from Nestle.
Not again.
Night, Homer. Nobody better lay a finger on my Butterfinger.
A chill runs down your spine. Goosebumps explode from your flesh. And before you can scream, it's upon you. MTV's Shocktober Weekend. A 2-day rampage of monster chiller videos. The most horrifying film clips ever. And when that gets too intense, you've still got the music. Madonna, Janet Jackson, John Bon Jovi. Plus Saturday at 8, 7 Central. Check out a modern horror classic, The Making of Michael Jackson's Thriller. MTV's Shocktober Weekend. Coming for you next weekend.
Our cow eats a Reese's peanut butter cup.
I like to eat the peanut butter first.
There's no wrong way to eat a Reese's.
What? No dip?
For a really great Halloween, pick up tons of Pepsi and Doritos.
I shall see you dead.
Yeah.
That's Bruce Campbell as a Kmart-style sales clerk, suddenly transported back to the Middle Ages through contact with that old movie Standby, The Book of the Dead. Somebody must have made a lot of copies of that book and laid them around in creepy forests. Anyway, in the style of the Back to the Future movies, but without that series' wit, he confronts these old English types with a modern weapon. Wow, we haven't seen that before.
It's a 12-gauge double-barreled Remington. S-Mart's top of the line. You can find this in the sporting goods department.
The best moments in the movie involve a rip-off of Ray Harryhausen's stop-action animated skeletons from Jason and the Argonauts. See that instead of this picture. They're more compelling than any of the humans in this film. Only contact with the Book of the Dead can get our hero back to the 20th century, so we get a special effects game of picking book number 1, book number 2, or book number 3. Now, there's a lot wrong with Army of Darkness. The special effects, as you could see, are great, but there isn't a single interesting human being in the film. There's also very little wit, and this surprised me, no real love interest. Army of Darkness was directed by Sam Raimi, who made the action hit Darkman a couple of years ago. In that film, we cared about Darkman. Here, every man is in the dark.
Well, I'm not voting thumbs up on it, but I guess I liked it better than you. And one of the things I liked was the state-of-the-art special effects.
Oh, I like that
There's a lot
stuff.
of special effects in this movie, and they're very inventive. And I think what Raimi is trying to do in this film is kind of make a naked gun approach to horror movies and medieval warfare films. But the problem is, it's not that funny because most of the funny stuff in this movie was already seen in his movie from 1987, Evil Dead 2, which this one is allegedly kind of a sequel to. And I liked Evil Dead 2 so much more that I can't recommend
But
this
you know what I'm talking about. When he's standing among the troops, the old English troops there, they're meaningless to us.
Yeah, they are.
Bruce Campbell, he's a pretty much of a stiff, I think. So really, you watch the special effects.
No, Bruce Campbell, I think, does exactly what the role calls for.
Oh, but he could have a little more personality.
Our next movie is Friday the 13th, the final chapter, an immoral and reprehensible piece of trash that sold more tickets on its opening weekend than any other movie so far in 1984, and that is a very, very depressing commentary. It really makes me sad to think of all those moviegoers spending $4.50, $5, most of them teenage kids, sitting there watching this sad, cynical, depressing movie. Now, needless to say, Paramount Studios, the distributor of this film, didn't authorize any clips of the film for use on television. They like to make the money, but maybe they're a little bit ashamed of the movie. They like to hide it from critics like ourselves. But here are some scenes from the Coming Attractions trailer showing that the fourth Friday the 13th movie is just a cynical retread of the first three.
Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Jason is back. He moves like a shadow, dark and silent.
Sorry, you changed your mind?
He never utters a word. He doesn't even seem to breathe.
Where the hell's the corkscrew?
He simply, mindlessly, mercilessly kills.
Yeah, real great. Jason, you can't hear him, you can't see him, he hardly even breathes. He's the latest word in leading men from the geniuses at Paramount Pictures. You get the idea. Friday the 13th, the final chapter, is 90 minutes of teenagers being strangled, stabbed, impaled, chopped up, and mutilated. That's all this movie is just mindless, bloody violence. And just think of the message this film offers to its teenage audience. The world is a totally evil place, this movie says. It'll kill you. It doesn't matter what your dreams and hopes and ambitions are. It doesn't matter if you have a new boyfriend or a new girlfriend or you've got plans for the future. You can forget those plans because you're going to wind up dead. There is literally nothing else in this movie. And the sickest thing is, this isn't the final chapter. That's just an advertising gimmick. The ending clearly sets up a sequel. And what I want to know is, I wonder if they're going to be heartless and cynical enough to make the sequel, because why not? They've already taken the bucket to the cesspool 4 times for this sludge. I think the people who made this movie ought to be ashamed of themselves, and that's what I think, Gene.
Yeah.
And I'm going to vote no.
I had a feeling you might. I got as upset as you did. I don't know whether the teenagers, the message will be of this film that the world is hopeless out there, because I think that anybody who sees this picture will see it either the way you did and I did, which is that it's just a mayhem film. You might as well watch car accidents edited together, or they will think it's just a lark and just a fun. I don't think anyone's going to take this as a worldview picture. I really don't.
But wait a minute. See, the thing is, they made the first one. Okay.
I thought it was horrible.
The first one was horrible. Then they made the second one.
Yeah.
Then they made the third one in 3D. Then they made this one. By now, all it is the teenagers go to Crystal Lake and they're killed.
Roger, we don't have a dispute about the film. The only point that I'm making, because
have you seen all 4 of them? What are they trying to tell you?
No. What they're trying to give kids is a roller coaster ride, and instead of the thing of falling off the roller coaster, it's will you get stabbed in some way?
Will you get disemboweled and eviscerated?
It's a terrible film. I'm just holding you back a little bit from what sounds a little bit soapboxy in terms of kids are going to take this as this is the way the world is. I don't think they'll do that. But what I am saying is this, that the film is literally about stabbing. In other words, if you like this picture, what you have liked, I believe, is the idea that someone will get a stick put through their body, because that's the essence of this movie. Well, the surprise is, it's not surprising.
I did probably sound a little soapboxy, but I'll tell you, I'm not saying the kids are going to believe that. I'm saying this is what the message is in the movie. Now, I sat in a theater, and I saw this with some kids, and you watch them coming in. It's an R-rated picture. That means most of the people will be under 17. They're 13, they're 12, they're 14.
Okay, it's gotta be.
They're coming in, they're sitting there for 2 hours. This is supposed to be fun. They're told it's fun. They see it advertised on television. It did a lot of business. Their older brothers and sisters went to see it. And what do they see for 2 hours? Just cynical defeatism.
It's terrible. It's a terrible film. I think a much more interesting point is that the message that it sends out is not that this is the way the world is, but that now you've really got on the subject, which is that watching girls, and it's mostly girls again, getting stuck is entertainment. See, that's the pornography.
It's really sick.
That this is legitimate entertainment too. That you can go to a theater
and the movie
and pay for
doubled its money in its first weekend.
Coming up next, there's a new video version out of the 1931 classic Frankenstein movie. It contains some previously deleted scenes. We'll look at the new scenes next.
I saw the boogeyman. I saw him outside.
October 31st.
Happy Halloween.
It's 5 straight hours of bloody death.
You don't know what death is.
MoviePix presents a triple bill of John Carpenter's classic slashers, Halloween.
Kill you if this is a joke.
First at 9, Michael Myers is a maniac on the loose in the original Halloween, starring Jamie Lee Curtis. Then at 10:35...
I am talking about the real possibility that he is still out there.
Halloween 2, and just after midnight...
It's time again.
Halloween 3. 3 Halloween movies back to back.
Happy Halloween.
Halloween 1, 2, and 3, October 31st on MoviePix.
This Halloween, party with your favorite monsters during Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios, Florida. And right now, carve out savings of up to $16 off admission with this special coupon you'll find on 2 liters of Pepsi. For details, visit a Pepsi display near you. Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios. Hurry to Ticketmaster today for advance tickets, while you can still slash the price.
At last they're here! New Butterfinger ice cream bars.
Hi, dudes.
Crispity crunchity outside, creamy ice cream inside.
Nobody better lay a finger on my Butterfinger.
love dead.
Universal Studios Home Video presents the most famous monsters of all time in one horrifying collection.
I am Dracula.
It's alive!
8 classic films in all new packaging, featuring original poster art, plus trailers. Look for a special edition of Dracula. Scored for the first time by world-renowned composer Philip Glass and performed by Kronos Quartet.
What music they make.
The Universal Classic Monster Collection. Look inside each video for a $5 savings offer and take them home forever.
One of the great horror films of all time is Frankenstein, directed by James Whale in 1931 from Mary Shelley's novel. It scared millions for more than a half century and done so with great Gothic style. But some new footage has been discovered by Universal Pictures, and they have included it in a new video disc and videotape version. The new footage runs about 1.5 minutes, and it was probably considered too intense for the time, 1931. Let's take a look at the traditional release print of this film, the scene where the monster plays with a little girl. Now, that's how we've known the movie for 57 years, but in one of the restored new sequences, the monster does more than throw flowers in the lake. Obviously, he doesn't know what he's doing. The sweet guy just wants to see if she'll float like the little flowers. And it is kind of sweet. But I guess they were a little bit worried about that at that time, which is sort of strange because 1931 is pre-code. Yeah. And yet they pulled that sequence out. And you go right to the peasants dancing in the town. I can see why that scene was removed, although it's perversely charming now to see it. So if you plan on renting Frankenstein, make sure you find the new restored version. It's even more of the classic it has always been.
Well, I enjoyed the restored version, and I enjoyed him throwing the girl into the lake, but I have to ask you something.
Sure.
Isn't this an issue that gets into the same region as colorization? In other words, I don't have anything against movies that are restored when the director was against the original cuts. For example, the restoration of the missing scenes in A Star Is Born.
Correct.
Which George Cukor wanted in the film.
Right.
But is there any evidence that Universal took this out and James Whale wanted it in?
My intuition.
Maybe it was simply a cut at the time.
No, my intuition is probably James Whale had enough sense of irony in this film and intelligence as a filmmaker to want to put the sequence in. If he shot it, my assumption, and it's just an assumption, would be that the studio would say, hey, let's take this out. It's a little heavy-handed.
Oh, well, then if that's the case, it's okay with me. But here's the question. There are a lot of so-called restored versions of movies coming out now, and that's one of the ways they're trying to sell discs and tapes is to say, hey, it has missing footage.
Yeah.
Don't you feel that putting in so-called missing footage is just as bad as colorization unless you can prove that it's part of the original vision of the director?
Well, no, I don't think it's as bad. I think it's better if it's the director wanted it that way. I think it's sort of interesting historically as an add-on to say, here's some of the stuff that was let out. I'm so interested in good movies, I'd like to see all of the takes that were never seen.
Yeah, but why couldn't they put these missing scenes on at the end so you could look at them?
That's what I just said. Put them on at the end.
Well, after the original Psycho came out in 1960, Anthony Perkins turned down all kinds of offers for a sequel for more than 20 years. And, of course, you couldn't have a sequel without Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates. Then 2 years ago, Perkins agreed to make Psycho 2, which was an okay movie on its own terms, although, of course, it wasn't any comparison to Hitchcock's classic. Now comes Psycho 3, this time directed by Anthony Perkins, as well as starring him, and this is a much better movie than Part 2. In fact, if you love the original Psycho, you might want to see this one because this movie is especially interesting in the way it reveals some of the secrets of Norman Bates' obsessive relationship with what remains of his mother. Here's the scene from early in the film.
Well, I'm the manager, and you'd be my assistant, so I guess you'd be assistant manager. You'd get a free room, of course, and work mostly days. I prefer the nights.
Well, I gotta be straight with you, Norm.
Norman.
I'm not looking for anything long-term. I just want to make enough bucks to get the brakes on my car fixed and build up a little stake for L.A. I'm a singer. But I wouldn't mind filling in until you found somebody permanent. I just won't be staying around too long.
No one ever does.
Another visitor to Bates Motel country is a woman journalist who's doing a story on mental patients who have returned to the community, and she wants to get Norman Bates' story.
Aren't you the least bitter about what Lila Lumens tried to do to you?
I understand. My cure couldn't cure the hurt I caused. My return to sanity didn't return the dead. There's no way to make up that loss. The past is never really past. It stays with me all the time. And no matter how hard I try, I can't really escape. It's always there, throbbing inside you, coloring your perceptions of the world and sometimes controlling them.
Norman Bates does kill again in Psycho 3, but the local sheriff remains one of his main supporters, even in this macabre scene.
Well, still no reason to get so riled up and go running off like that. Well, we'll leave you alone now. Again, I'm sorry.
That's not good enough, Sheriff. You just can't let it lie.
I'm letting it lie, and so are you understand? Until I have evidence to the contrary, that young lady and Mrs. Spool are both missing persons cases.
Aren't you going to take him in for questioning or anything? Why don't you drag the swamp? That's where he dumped the last bodies.
Don't tell me my job, Miss Venable.
Well, somebody has to. You're not going to let him go.
Despite all your glib insinuations, I don't have one iota of proof that he's done anything.
I love that moment when he puts the bloodstained ice cube in his mouth and Perkins goes. In fact, Perkins does things with his mouth and eyes better than any other actor in the history of horror films, I think. The key to Psycho 3 is, of course, Norman Bates, Anthony Perkins, and in his first directing effort, Perkins shows that he knows Norman better than anyone else. He doesn't make the movie a freak show, but instead he develops some sympathy for Norman in a perverse way. Here's a man that's driven by demons that we can only imagine and uncertain of his connections with the real world. By this point, Hitchcock's original Psycho has become such an official classic that any movie named Psycho 3 is going to be routinely criticized in comparison with the Hitchcock film. All I have to say is no matter what you call this movie, Anthony Perkins has made a very good, very scary horror film, and in scenes like the one with the ice chest there, one that's very much in the Hitchcock spirit. I liked it.
That's a cute scene. I didn't get scared by the film. I was turned off by some of the violence, and I won't, of course you're not saying it compares with the original. It just sort of laid there for me. I didn't think it was bad. I just didn't care to see it. It didn't interest me. We've talked before about how in some classic movies we don't want to know how the secrets are revealed. That didn't hold any interest for me. Obviously, the speech he makes in the restaurant there about the past guiding one's present and future is obvious. And so the film just sort of sat there, and I ended up just being bored.
Well, if the violence was too much for you, what did you think about the shower scene in the original Psycho? Was that too much for you, too?
No, it wasn't too much for me. That was one of the most shocking things and original things I'd ever seen before.
Well, there's a scene in this movie where somebody gets her neck cut that is just as shocking and in the same way. And I also felt in context. It's not like Friday the 13th, where they're just throwing it in by the shovelful, but within context and with the character. And there's another scene in this movie.
Yeah, but it's not a classic scene. That scene will not be recalled 20 years from now. 20 years from now,
okay, 20 years from now, no movies this year are going to be recalled for their classic scenes, probably. We're talking about a scene that stands all by itself, so that's not a valid criticism. Another thing about the movie,
you just asked me if it was a good scene.
I asked you what you said about the violence, and you said the violence was okay in one but not in the other.
That's right.
Is, if it shocked you in one and didn't shock you in the other, then
no. Obviously, there can be violent films where you accept the violence. For example, Halloween is an extremely violent film. I thought was very well done. Psycho was another. This film was not. And there are tons of films that you've routinely disliked that have a lot of violence in them.
But none of them have been quite this well directed, and I think the directing and acting is the whole thing when it comes to violence. There's another scene in this movie where Norman gets a note, presumably from his mother, saying, "Meet me in cabin number 12." And there's a long traveling shot as he walks the whole distance to that room, with the camera showing in his eyes and on his mouth and in his face such a play of emotions that it's absolutely fascinating. I think this is a much better movie than you're giving it credit for.
Well, there's no question that you think it's so, and I disagree.
What night? What do you mean?
You always give me a doll on the same night of the year.
Oh. I didn't realize.
The eagerly awaited interview with the vampire, and now it's finally time to Put aside the controversy, the author of the book, Anne Rice, originally complaining about the casting of Tom Cruise, then reversing herself, Oprah Winfrey walking out during the first reel because of the blood. And now, let's review the movie, which I mostly liked. And why? Because it really is about vampires, about what they think and feel and see. The story begins as a journalist, Christian Slater, interviews in a San Francisco apartment Brad Pitt as Louis, a man who casually says he's a vampire.
Don't be frightened. I want this opportunity. How the hell did you do that? The same as you do. A series of simple gestures. Only I moved too fast for you to see.
Louis tells his story as the film flashes back in time to 1791 Louisiana to introduce the vampire who first bit and transformed him. That vampire is named Lestat, and he's played by Tom Cruise. Cruise is a little hard to accept at first, but he settles into the part, or maybe we just get used to him.
Do you still want death? Or have you tasted it enough?
Enough.
What seems gratuitous in the film, maybe the part that Oprah walked out on, are some early biting scenes involving Louisiana slaves. We feel like we've seen this before. Another key character in the film, a young girl, a plague victim restored to life, the life of a vampire by Lestat. The vampire child, played by Kirsten Dunst, eventually becomes a pseudo-daughter for Lestat and for Louis, who lost his wife in childbirth.
Claudia! Claudia! Now, who will we get to finish your dress? A little practicality, shall we? Remember, in our home.
I haven't really shown you the best part of Interview with a Vampire, and that's the production design of the French locations and the whole concept, and it's a fabulous concept of an underground vampire society, and the many quiet moments in which Lestat and Louis, the two vampires, talk about what it means to really be a vampire. This is an ambitious film by Crying Game director Neil Jordan. He's trying to encapsulate both the movie myth of vampires as well as the passion, the human passion of Anne Rice's psychological approach. And he mostly makes it all work.
Yes, he mostly does. And I agree with you about those scenes in Paris, especially that underground catacomb set.
Fabulous.
Which, you know, one of the reasons we go to the movies is to occasionally see something that really, it makes your jaw drop. And that scene is just wonderful because it implies, in a sense, this ancient society of vampires and how long this has been going on.
Sure.
I think probably like Tom Cruise more than you did. It wasn't that I had to get used to him. I saw him, the first time I saw him, I said, well, it is Tom Cruise. But on the other hand, he did a wonderful job of looking like Lestat and acting like Lestat. And I think this is an actor who is so clean-cut in his everyday image that whenever he does something like this, we're almost saying he can't do it, and then he pulls it off. I think he's an extraordinary young actor.
Oh, I think he's a terrific actor. I'm just saying, I felt I saw him pushing the part a little bit at the top. Then I got relaxed.
If I had a criticism of the movie, the thing that I liked the best was the mood.
Of course.
The look and the mood and the relationships. If I had a criticism, it's that not really very much happens. It's more like an interview with a real vampire and a look at the real vampire society than it is a story.
Oh, but what I like is the fact that this is a guy, hey, you want to know what it's all about? Well, here's what it's all about. And this notion that this world exists, they made that world, that underground world, come alive.
Well, of course, the opening title at the bottom, it said The Vampire Chronicles. I wonder if that kind of is a hint.
That's more's coming.
We're going to get more sequels.
When we come back, Bram Stoker's Dracula, the epic tale of Transylvania by another great director, Francis Ford Coppola.
Halloween's a perfect time for baking spooky cookies. Just roll out Pillsbury sugar cookies, cut, bake and decorate, and feed them to your goblins. So much fun there.
Scary.
Thursday. I sell my soul for a donut.
That can be arranged.
Get ready for the scariest,
Bart, stop pestering Satan.
spookiest, party to vampires, and wildest night of the year.
Today he's drinking people's blood. Tomorrow he could be smoking.
On an all-new Simpsons Halloween special. Then you're invited to a haunted Halloween party.
Can we all just get along?
Martin on a special night and time. It's all part of Fox's Halloween Bash, Thursday starting at 8, 7 Central.
It was late one night in the castle of the Chicken McNuggets.
What are you making?
Sauce. We're using my mummy's recipe.
Mummy,
This better be good.
It'll be great.
Does your daddy have a recipe?
Now you can get McDonald's Happy Meal pails for
Halloween.
There's a pumpkin pail, a witch, and a ghost that glows in the dark. You can get a different one each week until
Halloween.
At Dunkin' Donuts, we believe everyone should get dressed up for Halloween. Even our donuts. Now get 50 Halloween decorated munchkins for $3.89.
Dear Great Pumpkin, I'm looking forward to your arrival on Halloween night.
They're back, all the little Peanuts characters, in a happy Halloween special, filled with ghosties and ghoulies and things that go bump in the night. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, Monday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain.
Our next film is the Don't Date Strangers thriller called Fear, and what an inspired title that is, and what a trashy movie, too. It's about a teenage girl from Seattle who has just moved in with her divorced dad, his new wife, and she befriends a strange young man in town who has already helped her violate one curfew. He comes over now to pick her up for a second date.
Nicole!
Yeah?
Get me a Coke.
Okay, I'll be right there.
Thank you. You almost ready?
That's Mark Wahlberg, the former rapper, as the creep, and Reese Witherspoon as the daughter. He turns her on, but turns off her dad, played by William L. Peterson.
I know about things coming apart at work. I also know you ain't keeping up, so to speak, your end of the bargain with the missus. Relax, Steve. We're friends. We're practically family.
But the third act of the film is pure mayhem, as the creep and three of his even creepier thug buddies come looking for vengeance at William Peterson's home.
It all could have been different, Mr. Walker. You should have allowed nature to take its course. In the end, it will anyway.
So let me alone!
I was shocked that Fear was made by the fine filmmaker James Foley, and get a load of his credits. Edgy pictures like At Close Range, After Dark, My Sweet, and also Glengarry Glen Ross. This film, Fear, is not worthy of his talent or your attendance.
I completely disagree with you. I was really surprised by how effective this movie was. I thought Mark Wahlberg and Reese Witherspoon were so effective as this couple, and the way that he is able to smooth talk her and kind of get her confidence and seem like such a nice guy.
Father. Roger,
and,
not the
William
family.
Peterson, the scene between Wahlberg and Peterson outside the school, when the two men are threatening each other, that was really riveting, because that young creep had a way to really get underneath the older man's skin. He really knew how to stick it in and twist it, and I felt that this movie was surprisingly suspenseful and also psychologically very much on target.
No, I don't think it's on target, Roger, because I don't think, first of all, it doesn't get difficult to get a father anxious about his daughter. You don't have to be clever to do that.
But think of the frustration when you can't get your daughter to believe that this guy that she's in love with might be dangerous. That's such a universal feeling.
Well, Roger, how about a sit-down sequence where they talk it out? I mean, there isn't that
they
picture.
They do try to do that. There was a lot of good dialogue in this movie. I was surprised how well
I think it was so obvious that this guy was a phony to the father at the very least.
Yeah, but of course it's always obvious to the father and it's never obvious to the daughter. That's the whole point.
And did you like the conclusion? The third act? You didn't think that was just run through?
Part of it was movie making, and part of it, as a matter of fact, was plausible, believe it or not.
Oh, including the house, the fortress-like house? I mean, that's...
Sure, because he's an architect, and he's built this house out in the woods, and he wants it to be.
Entering the fortress, it's a traditional movie.
I must go.
Do not fear me.
That is not a chance encounter in an early London cinema. The man, played by Gary Oldman there, is Prince Dracula, who has waited centuries for the reincarnation of his dead bride and thinks he has found her in this beautiful young English woman, the fiancée of the prince's attorney, played by Winona Ryder. And the relationship between the undead prince and the object of his ancient obsession is at the heart of Bram Stoker's Dracula, a great-looking but somewhat disorganized new epic of the supernatural from Francis Ford Coppola. Lucy, the young woman's best friend, is played by Sadie Frost, who unwittingly supplies the lifeblood which Dracula needs to maintain his strength. And Anthony Hopkins plays a vampire killer whose suspicions are aroused by her condition.
You do not let your eyes see nor your ears hear that which you cannot account for.
Something just went up there, sucked it out of her, and flew away, I suppose.
Yeah, why not?
The movie has all the obligatory graveyard scenes, including this atmospheric confrontation between the vampire killers and Lucy as the walking undead.
Kiss me and caress me, my darling husband, please.
Winona Ryder there plays the young woman who seems to be the reincarnation of Dracula's dead bride, and indeed she seems to feel some special emotion in the presence of the dread prince.
No. Oh, I cannot let this be.
Please, I don't care. Make me.
You're cursed as I am to walk in the shadow of death for all eternity. I love you too much to continue.
Take me away from all this death.
Francis Coppola's version of Dracula does not have a strong narrative thread to draw us from the beginning to the end of the film. It feels actually more like an opera, with a lot of very emotional climaxes and not much logic in between, and that is both a strength and a weakness. I like the way this movie looked and felt, and I like the energy the actors put into their performances. There were times when they seemed to be playing for the audiences in every theater in the multiplex. I liked the production design, the costumes, the lavish and seductive photography. I liked all of that. What never really moved me very much were the characters. I didn't believe their emotions. They seemed to be playing for effect rather than for motivation. But still, it's a good-looking movie. I recommend it for what I liked about it, but not for the rest.
Yeah, and I'm voting thumbs down, Roger. It is a great-looking picture, but boy, that's all I saw. I was interested early on in the Gary Oldman Dracula, the old Dracula. I thought that was an interesting creation. He looks like some kind of weird grandmother with a beehive hairdo, and I thought that's fresh rather than the cloaked prince that we're usually getting in the films. But beyond that opening sequence, I don't think that the Winona Ryder character was very charismatic at all. Keanu Reeves as the lawyer, I thought was kind of in another century. Well, he is in another century, but I thought it was maybe the 20th century. And I thought it was very disorganized. And yes, Coppola is a master of the visual, but I thought it was a pretty empty picture.
Well, the important thing with a movie of this length and complexity is to have a storyline that is clear enough.
Driven through.
So that people know at every moment exactly who is who and why, and whether we care about them and what's going to happen next. And here you have, as I said before, set pieces in which everything spins around in beautiful pictures, but there's no real emotion.
So then why do you give it thumbs up?
I love the way it looked.
Well, I like the way it looked.
There has to be, you know, thumbs up, thumbs down is such an arbitrary thing anyway.
Not arbitrary.
This movie does things with the visuals of vampirism and the Dracula legend you have not seen done before. I mean, the sets, the costumes, the atmosphere, the music, the special effects.
I know you were bored during it, and I was bored too. I really was.
Well,
Coming up next...
I'm glad you're a mind reader. Maybe you could get a job in the next picture doing your act.
So where's your wife?
Where's my wife? My wife is in the country with her parents visiting for the weekend.
And you're here with a strange girl being a naughty boy.
Michael Douglas is a married man, but he's attracted to a sexy stranger, the wrong sexy stranger, in Fatal Attraction.
We're getting a lot of thrillers now following the success of Jagged Edge, and for the most part, Fatal Attraction is just about as exciting as Jagged Edge, but in a little more subtle way. A smart guy makes one mistake and finds himself in a terrible and terrifying situation. Michael Douglas plays an attorney, a married man who has an affair with Glenn Close, an editor he's just met at a party with his wife.
How long have you been married?
9 years.
Do you have any kids?
Mm-hmm. Got a 6-year-old girl.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm lucky.
So what are you doing here?
It's a torrid weekend for them while his wife and kids are away, but when Douglas wants to break it off with Glenn Close, she says no. She starts calling his house, trailing him, and when she tells him she's pregnant, Douglas is forced to confess his trouble to his best friend and law partner.
That's not the end of it, so after I talked to the doctor, this morning, I broke into her apartment. I know you. Me, a lawyer, breaking and entering. I don't know, I'm looking for something, anything to get a handle on what I'm dealing with here. I thought maybe I can find out she's sleeping with somebody else, you know.
He's genuinely scared now, and the tension level is turned up a notch when Glenn Close trails Douglas to his New York apartment and is talking to his wife when he walks in the door.
Haven't we met somewhere before?
I don't think so.
No, we have. Weren't you at that party at the Japanese place a few weeks ago? Honey, the exercise book.
Oh, yeah.
You're a lawyer? And you work for the firm, oh, what's the name? Well, anyway. We've definitely met.
Well, you have a good memory.
I never forget a face. It's a small world. Certainly is.
That shot of the two women facing him, when that shot comes up, we feel scared. He's scared even more than us. What I like about this script is that it doesn't cheat too much. Douglas does some logical things. I've been in so many thrillers where people don't do the right thing. I'm screaming, call the police, call the police. Well, he does call the police. In fact, he does tell his wife what's going on. And still, Glenn Close keeps bugging him, pushing him, pushing him. This makes Fatal Attraction, really, if you think about it, into a monster movie. But instead of a mad slasher with a hockey mask chopping up teenagers like in Friday the 13th, here we've got a fine actress chasing a fine actor, and Ann Archer is no slouch as the wife. Except for a little bit of a hokey ending, I liked Fatal Attraction.
Well, you say a little bit of a hokey ending. I say the last half hour. And unfortunately, up until the last half hour, I was thinking in my mind Oscar material.
Yeah.
Because the movie is so psychologically convincing.
Yes.
It is absolutely, in terms of its dialogue, in terms of the character development, in terms of those performances.
Played real.
It had me right on line with it. And then I felt, at the end, I felt betrayed and I felt cheated because that last half hour, Gene, come on. Now, I don't want to give away the ending, but you know what I'm talking about.
I know.
It's got a Friday the 13th ending.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the scene where the monster isn't really dead. It's got that ridiculous, I won't give away too much, that ridiculous sequence involving the roller coaster and the traffic accident. Come on, it's like in the last half hour, they totally lost their nerve and just turned it into a Hollywood formula horror movie.
Yeah.
And I give a thumbs down because they didn't have the guts to stick with how good it was and how much better they could have made it.
And I think you're being too severe. In the in the course of the movies that we see, there is so much good in this film. I say it's good. We're seeing.
Well, but
I would not. So if a friend asked me to see it, I'd say see it, but be prepared to be disappointed.
I'd tell a friend, okay, that's great. Okay, then I would agree with that. See it, but be prepared to be disappointed.
At the end.
If you can leave after an hour and 20 minutes, you'll think you walked out of a great movie.
Lock the doors. Bolt the windows. This Friday, Fox TV's most shocking show comes to prime time with a 1-hour Halloween special. Who could ask for anything more? Tales from the crypt. Then, some say it's an ancient legend.
Each victim was ripped to shreds.
But Friday,
Oh, my God.
the legend returns to kill. The X-Files after Tales from the Crypt, part of Fox's Halloween Bash. Friday.
Look at this thing, Bloodbart, and tell me what you see.
A Butterfinger.
And this one?
Another Butterfinger.
Just as I thought. Your obsession with this so-called Butterfinger can be overcome only by sharing the very object you hold most dear.
Speak English, Doc.
I want that Butterfinger!
You need help, man.
Crispity, crunchity, peanut buttery Butterfinger.
Wait, boy!
Sorry, man. But nobody better lay a finger on my Butterfinger.
And try new Butterfinger ice cream bars.
Cool, man. Butterfinger on a stick.
I may be stranded, but at least I got my Fruity Pebbles. Fruity! A ghost!
Only a Fruity Pebbles can set my spirit free.
My Fruity Pebbles? Okay.
Frighteningly fruity flavors. Thanks, Fred.
Bonnie!
Boo. Bon appetit.
Post Fruity Pebbles cereal, part of this complete breakfast.
What happens when you put Hershey's and Halloween together?
Wow, a Hershey bar.
Last year's movie Scream was a horror film with a difference. All of the characters had seen other horror films and knew enough to avoid all the dumb things that people do in horror films. Now comes Scream 2, in which all of the characters have seen a movie based on the killings in the first movie. It sounds complicated, but as part of the fun, the cast for once knows as much as the audience. The film stars Neve Campbell as one of the survivors, and now she's in college and getting creepy phone calls from another mad slasher.
What do you want?
It's time, girlfriend.
Courtney Cox plays the TV newswoman from the first movie. She wrote a book about those killings and now is back to cover more slashings with a reluctant cameraman played by Dwayne Martin.
I read what happened to your last cameraman. The guy got gutted. Now me, I'm gonna do what any rational human being would do, which is get out of here.
First of all, he wasn't gutted. I made that up. His throat was slashed.
What do you... Yo, gutted, slashed, the guy ain't in the union no more.
This is national television. Think about it. This is a big chance for you. The story is monumental. Don't you want to be a part of that?
I want to report the news. I don't want to be the news. Besides, brothers don't last long in situations like this.
Liev Schreiber is also back as the suspect that Campbell put in jail before his innocence was proven. Now he's suspected again.
Don't you watch TV, Current Edition? That was a very insightful program on which it was made abundantly clear that I'm an innocent man. So until you find me standing over a dead body with a knife in my hand, I think you better treat me with the rights and privileges accorded to every innocent citizen in this country.
There's a good deal of violence in Scream 2. It's bloodier than the original film, but the screenplay by Kevin Williamson is just as clever at devising dialogue that plays against it. This is not only a horror movie that knows it's a horror movie, but it's a sequel that contains a discussion of sequels. Is this as good as the original? Well, not quite, but it's close enough. I'm giving it a thumbs up.
I'm giving it a thumbs up, too, and I liked it more than the original picture. Maybe the challenge of coming up to a sequel to that one is daunting, and this film pulls it off. I just thought that the writing was smarter, and the number of characters that are being juggled in this screenplay. I mean, normally you have, you know, a row of ducks that get knocked off in these pictures, and here I got to know some of the ducks.
Kevin Williamson's screenplay does have a lot of really neat lines in it. For example, at one point, the Courtney Cox character is accused of posing nude on the internet. In her defense, that was my head. It was Jennifer Aniston's body.
Right.
That's a funny line.
Better than Minute Lice, Roger. I like that one.
Our next movie is Ernest Scared Stupid. And although there have been 3 earlier Ernest movies, and I try to see most everything, somehow those other 3 managed to escape me, and so this is my first exposure to the friendly local garbage man played by Jim Varney. The experience of seeing my first Ernest movie did not fill me with an urgent need to rent the other 3 videos and catch up on Ernest. As the movie begins, Ernest is impressing the local kids with his notions of history, and this is one of several tiresome sequences in the movie where he appears in lots of different costumes and accents.
We're the out of it, and you're not. You're in a world of it now, pal.
Oh, my. I'm afraid. Sure, I'm scared. Everybody in Bar 1 is scared. It looks like curtains.
This place is just screaming for Drake.
The movie co-stars Eartha Kitt, of all people, as the local prophetess. 200 years ago, the area was beset by dangerous trolls, monsters that were finally subdued by being buried and having a giant tree planted on top of them. That's what they should have done with this movie. Now they're back, and Kitt knows who has to get rid of them.
You are the only troll fighter we've got. You're the 7th son of the 7th son. You're the baby. You're the boy. You are the great redneck hope.
Watching Jim Varney playing Ernest there, I was taken back to my childhood and reminded of the character that Huntz Hall used to play in the Bowery Boys movies. Boy, I used to love those Bowery Boys movies. And you know what? If I were 8 years old, I might have liked Ernest Scared Stupid, too.
Maybe. You know, I think happened in this picture. I've seen the other ones.
Oh, yeah?
I don't like him, basically, in this character.
Yeah.
I don't think it's funny when he gets close up into the camera and mugs that's funny. In addition to that, I think I like this picture the least of them all is that it takes about 25 minutes to get rolling before they set the troll stuff in action. And the first 25 minutes of that is really boring if you're 8 or 1 or 45.
Now it's time for our video pick of the week, and I would like to recommend a strange and funny horror satire named Evil Dead 2: Dead by Dawn. I said earlier in the program that I was disappointed by its sequel, Army of Darkness, the Sam Raimi horror spoof that has great production values but somehow seems to be recycling its comedy approach. Maybe that's because I was a fan of Raimi's 1987 movie Evil Dead 2, which also starred the hard-working Bruce Campbell as the bloodiest self-defense artist in horror history.
Groovy.
Evil Dead 2 is not for everyone, but for horror fans, It's one of the funniest movies of recent years. I recommend you take a look at it on home video. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week.
2 thumbs up for Misery, Rob Reiner's thoroughly enjoyable film of Stephen King's thriller about a tortured writer. Both James Caan and Kathy Bates excel.
2 more thumbs down for Army of Darkness, the horror film send-up that never really takes off.
We split on Psycho 3. Roger thought it was a very effective thriller in its own right, but I thought it sort of went flat. 2 thumbs down, way down for The Good Son, a brutal exercise in terror that makes absolutely no sense. It's one of the year's worst films. A split vote on Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Coppola. Roger and I saw the movie the same way. Great visuals, lame story, but Roger thought the visuals were worth it, not me.
Before we go, we want to remind viewers about Siskel and Ebert's Holiday Video Gift Guide, our annual 1-hour special survey of electronic gadgets and games, plus all kinds of movie choices that might make great holiday gifts. Check your local listings to find out when our hour-long Holiday Video Gift Guide is going to play over the next couple of weeks. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.